Assalamu alaikum, Abu Rasheed with you on the Arabic Quran YouTube channel, and we are here for part 7, episode number 7, to discuss ayah number 22 or verse number 22 from the chapter of Mary or Surah Mariam. This is a very short verse, so this will be quick. But if you remember, she has received, Mary, peace be upon her, Mariam alayhi salam, has received the news from the Archangel Gabriel, Jibril alayhi salam, that she's about to conceive a son, a righteous son. And so now we can assume that, from the last verse until now, there's a passage of time and she has conceived because of what the verse says. Just a couple of housekeeping points before we get started here in dissecting this verse. One is that when you see the color coding, that is to indicate the particles, nouns, and verbs that are reflected here. And what we have in red will indicate particles, and verbs are in blue, and everything else is a noun. Okay, and then the second thing is I'm not doing a grammatical analysis or i'rab of the ayah per se, but any points, grammatical points, I will touch if they add to the meaning, okay, or enhance the meaning, or illustrate or clarify the meaning. Okay, here we go. So it says here, فحملته فانتبذت به مكان قصية. فحملته فانتبذت به مكانا قصية. Okay, what does that mean? So we have the fa, which is a particle of resumption. So, okay, حملت, that is the verb to be pregnant. Okay, to be pregnant. This ta here is called the ta of feminization, ta ta'nif, and it is a feminine conjugated verb here because it is referring to Mary. Okay, so the one we are referring to, or that Allah is referring to, is Mary alayhi salam, Mariam alayhi salam, peace be upon her. She is the one that is pregnant. Okay, so the hamalat, the verb, goes to her, but this pronoun here, who does that go to? That goes to Jesus alayhi salam. Okay, so this is referring to Jesus. Actually, Jesus is referred to twice in this very short verse by the pronoun. So who is referring to Jesus. So basically, she was pregnant with Jesus. She carried him. Hamal, another meaning of hamala. There's a lot of meanings for hamala. The verb hamala. Hamala also means to carry. And the one who is pregnant or carrying is hamil. It's the active participle, hamil. Now, even though hamil is in the masculine form, we don't say hamila to a pregnant woman. We say hamil. But when you're referring to a lady who's pregnant, you use the noun hamil. And the plural for that is hawamil. Hawamil. So she is hamil. It says here, فَحَمَلَتْهُ. She was pregnant with Jesus. And then the next part is, again, we have the particle so. And if you remember the verb intabadat, we came across that in the first verse that we discussed, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, God may He be glorified, said, إِذِ انتبذت من أهلها مكانا شرقيا. In the first verse that we were discussing, she did intidab. Intabadat means to seclude oneself. The root letters are nun, ba, and dal, which comes originally from the verb nabada. And nabada has many meanings. It can mean to make wine, nabidh. It can mean to ostracize, repudiate, remove, seclude. So here, when the action is being done to oneself, reflexive, it's the verb is intabada, to seclude oneself. And it's in the past tense, so we should say secluded. And if you remember the first time that she did it, it was for the purpose of praying and engaging in deep, isolated worship to her Creator, right? And in this case, she's secluding herself because she's pregnant. And there's a couple of things to note here, right? Remember, in the first intidab, in the first seclusion, Mary, peace be upon her, was secluding herself for prayer. And she was known as a very pious, upright person in the community. And it's only obvious and, right that, to understand that she is going to seclude herself to pray. So you can imagine that when she's coming back pregnant, which is the complete opposite of what the people would be expecting. So not only should she, for her to be hamil, pregnant, there's actually a couple of things that work against that. Number one is her reputation. Her reputation, she's not married, and here she is pregnant. That'll cause a social earthquake, right? That's number one. And number two, besides her reputation, is the purpose of her intidab. Her first intidab, her first seclusion, was to go pray. It was not to go become pregnant, ma'adallah, right? May Allah perish this thought even from our mind. So there's two things going on here, her reputation and the purpose of her trip. So the fact that she's hamil, this is going to cause a major rupture in her relations with people and the way they look at her, right? So at least for the time being, obviously the truth is going to come out. She is going to, the birth is actually going to occur. But for the time being, while she's pregnant, she decides to go through another intidab or another seclusion. She does not want to go back because when you're hamil, obviously it shows. Her belly becomes distended and she becomes big, and obviously, it does become obvious, right, that she's pregnant, and people start talking. So that's something I wanted to mention about that. Now, this be is a preposition with, again, here is Jesus, the pronoun mentioned again, alayhi salam. So far we have. So she was pregnant with Jesus, so she secluded herself with him, where makanan means place. Okay, means place. And qasiya means far or distant or remote. Far, distant, remote place. So that nobody could see her. Like she would be completely away from everybody. Qasiya actually comes from the verb qasiya yaqsa. So when you say, for example, yaqsa al-makanu min al-madina, we're saying that this place is very distant or remote from the city, for example. So this is makanan qasiya. It is a sifa or the adjective for makanan. Okay? So that is the verse. Inshallah, we'll come back again with the next verse. This is verse 22. We'll come back with verse number 23 in episode number 8. This is Abu Rasheed signing off. I wish you the best. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you.